There are people in your life you've tried to forget, yet they remain. Not in the room, not in your messages, not in your future, but in your mind. Their voice shows up in moments of silence. Their memory returns at night, uninvited. Their presence lingers like a shadow behind your thoughts. You tell yourself you're over them. You tell yourself it doesn't matter anymore. You tell yourself time heals all wounds. But time doesn't always heal. Sometimes time only hides. And the truth is, you can't forget certain people, not because you're weak, but because your mind remembers differently than your heart. Before we begin, let me ask you a question. Who is the one person your mind returns to, even when you don't want it to? Hold their name softly in your mind as you listen. This is not a story about them. This is a story about you. 1. The mind always remembers what the heart never finished. It's easy to forget faces. It's easy to forget moments. But the human mind struggles to forget unfinished emotions. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect, a tendency of the brain to hold on to unresolved experiences. But when it comes to people, this effect goes even deeper. You don't just remember what happened. You remember what could have happened, what should have happened, what almost happened, and what you wished would happen. Your mind cannot close the chapter because the chapter never really ended. Not completely, not cleanly. You see, we don't remember people. We remember emotional worlds built around them. A world you shared, a world you imagined, a world your heart wasn't ready to let go of. This is why some people stay, not because they are special, but because your story with them is still open. 2. The brain remembers emotion, not logic. It's difficult to forget someone who made you feel a way you rarely feel. Some people awaken emotions in you that nobody else has touched, not because they were perfect, not because the relationship was healthy, but because they struck a part of your identity that had been sleeping. Maybe they made you feel seen, truly seen. Maybe they made you feel valuable, or alive, or wanted, or chosen, or human. The human brain stores emotional memory differently than factual memory, and emotional memories don't fade the way logical ones do. They decay slowly. They whisper instead of disappear. You can forget someone's birthday, their job, their hobbies, but you can't forget the feeling of being understood, or the feeling of being rejected, or the feeling of being needed, or the feeling of losing something you didn't know how to keep. The mind forgets information. The heart forgets nothing. 3. Some people are chapters. Some are lessons. There are people who pass through your life like pages. You flip them, read them, move on. But there are others, people who write whole chapters into you, people who mark your identity, rewrite your self-worth, change the chemistry of your emotional world. Some people teach love, some teach pain, some teach both. And the ones who teach both are the hardest to forget, because they leave you standing in the doorway of a world you're no longer allowed to enter, but still haven't learned to leave. That tension between longing and acceptance, between memory and reality, creates emotional friction, and friction leaves permanent marks. 4. You don't miss them. You miss who you were with them. Most people never understand this. When you can't forget someone, it's rarely about the person. It's about the version of yourself you became when they were near. You miss the way you laughed, the way you listened, The way you opened up, the way you felt inspired, the way you felt hopeful, the way you felt alive. You miss yourself in that moment of life. This is why even toxic people leave deep scars, not because they were good for you, but because the emotions they activated in you were powerful. Our mind is addicted to identity, and when someone rewrites a chapter of your identity, they become permanently carved into your memory. You don't miss them. You miss the world inside you that woke up when they appeared. 5. Trauma bonds and unfinished healing. Some memories refuse to fade because they are tied to pain, not love. Pain imprints differently when someone hurts you deeply, when they confuse you, invalidate you, use you, or leave you without explanation. Your mind tries desperately to make sense of what happened. The brain hates loose ends. It hates confusion. It hates lack of closure. So it keeps returning to the memory, not to relive it, but to repair it. And until it feels repaired, the memory stays alive. This is why people who broke you, people who betrayed you, people who rejected you, people who left suddenly, are often the ones who stay longest in your heart. Not because they deserve space, but because your mind is trying to understand the wound. You're not obsessed, you're injured. Healing is the only exit. 6. Some people are mirrors. Every person you meet reflects something back to you. But some people reflect the deepest parts you weren't ready to see. Maybe they showed you how insecure you are, how much love you can give, how lonely you've been, how much you crave understanding, how much of yourself you hide, how afraid you are of losing people. Some people act like psychological mirrors, and once you look into that mirror, you cannot unsee the truth. You're not remembering them. You're remembering the version of yourself they revealed. 7. The body also remembers. Memory is not just mental, it's physical. Your nervous system remembers tone of voice, moments of safety, moments of fear, warmth, patterns, routines, emotional rhythm, closeness, silence, absence. Sometimes what you cannot forget is not the person, but the chemical signature they left behind, the adrenaline of new love, the dopamine of deep connection, the oxytocin of closeness, the cortisol of heartbreak. You're not addicted to them. You're addicted to the emotional chemistry your body produced when they were around. Your body learned them, and now it must unlearn them. 8. The unfinished conversation. Almost everyone has someone they wish they could speak to one more time, not to beg, not to fix, but to simply say what was never said, because silence also leaves scars. Silence leaves questions, guilt, regret, wonder, what if? Why wasn't I enough? Why did you leave? Did I matter at all? Unfinished conversations remain open inside the mind. And as long as something stays open, your memory cannot close. You don't want the person, you want the closure. 9. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it's releasing. You cannot forget certain people because you never released what happened. Forgiveness is not a gift to them, it's liberation for you. Forgiveness says, I don't need the past to make sense anymore. I accept what happened, and I free myself from carrying its weight. Forgiveness allows memory to soften, not disappear, but soften. The person will still exist in your mind, but not as a wound, not as a ghost, but as a chapter, a completed one. 10. The truth. You don't forget people. You outgrow them. Now here is the truth you came for. The goal is not to forget. The goal is to outgrow. Forgetting is impossible. Memory is part of being human. But outgrowing someone, that is entirely possible. Outgrowth is when the emotion fades, the meaning changes, the grip loosens, the lessons remain, but the pain no longer controls you. Outgrowth is when you can think of them without collapsing inside. Outgrowth is when the story becomes, I remember, but I am no longer held by it. I felt deeply, but it doesn't define me anymore. It mattered, but it no longer hurts. And that is how you move on, not by erasing the past, but by expanding beyond it. You can't forget certain people because they were chapters in your becoming. They shaped you. They hurt you. They revealed you. They awakened you. They broke parts of you that needed breaking. They unlocked lessons you didn't know you needed. You remember them because their presence changed the architecture of your mind. But you are not meant to stay there. You are meant to grow beyond it. And one day, not suddenly, but quietly, you will. Their memory will remain, but it will no longer pull you, no longer haunt you, no longer define you. They will be a chapter, not the whole book. If this spoke to you, if you felt even a single sentence echo inside you, then your mind is asking for understanding. Your heart is asking for healing. Subscribe to Dr. Veyne for more deep psychological stories. You're not alone in the things you feel, and there are still parts of you waiting to be understood.